last week, I think it was, I shared an article about this. I think it was like a 47-year-old, 48-year-old politician in the US who argued against vaccines and then died of COVID. And she is getting an enormous amount of online hate. Now, for me personally, I don't. My sons keep saying to me, "Who do you hate, Mum?" And I don't hate anyone. They're like, "But you hate Donald Trump." I'm like, "No, I don't hate Donald Trump. I don't hate anyone. I don't. There are people I don't respect. There are people I feel sorry for, but I don't hate anyone." So for me, the idea of going onto someone's social media profile and attacking them and just saying disgusting things after they've died, it actually breaks my heart that that's where we are. On the other side, I do understand how people are so frustrated because these people have not only made the pandemic harder for everybody else, but they've also killed people within their own communities by sharing the knowledge that they're sharing. But I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I personally, for me, I wish this wasn't part of it, but I think it's, people are so tired of what we're going through that it's kind of unsurprising at the same time. What do you guys think?
Samantha?
Yeah, I think that, there's an old adage that basically says something to the effect of crisis doesn't build your character, it shows your character. And that has not been the prettiest picture for many, many people over the last 2 years. And I think it's such an absolutely complex question to unpack. I mean, I don't think shame ever belongs anywhere in anyone's discourse or dialogue. I think you can throw the same shame at people who, like I have 2 fathers, one who passed from alcohol and one from smoking. So you could say they knew better and but like there's no place for that, right? They made their choices. Yeah. There were consequences, and that's that. It's the same thing when a drunk driver kills himself and someone else. Like there are a million different versions of how this exact situation plays out. And shaming the person has never made anybody feel better.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It doesn't work. But I think people are not always capable right now of making great decisions. I think the people are stretched. I think I mentioned last week when you guys were on the show in my hometown in Canada, it's this tiny little town. And one of the largest investors in this town who's like helping to build the waterfront, and he owns a pub in town, and he's well known and well liked in the community. He supports charities, lost his mind in the grocery store because someone refused to wear a mask, chased them out into the parking lot and bashed in a taillight with a baseball bat and ends up in jail. Like, pillar of the community, and just snapped. And I just think, I think that woman's page, some 4,000 comments on it or something, and some of them are just awful. And you don't know how many of those people are just snapping. How many of those people are just piling on? But I mean, none of that is bringing the poor husband's wife back. And she's not getting the message because she's gone. So who are you making feel better?
Yeah.
Yep. No. It actually takes us back to the beginning of the show where somebody's getting pushed into where a woman's getting pushed into a train by a man. It feels like we're picking on the one with no voice to either spotlight our voice, to vindicate ourselves, to justify ourselves, to have some sort of personal validation, but an intelligent person would go, isn't that ironic, and move on. They wouldn't take the time to let loose on somebody's sight.
Unless that intelligent person has just lost someone to COVID.
Well, yeah, okay. And so then they
just crazy things to people, right?
Yeah.
The
interesting thing is right now. You mentioned shame, and shame has been a cultural tool to normalize what is considered unacceptable behavior for millennia. It's that shame and exclusion, the two. So cancel culture and social media shouting is not surprising at all. It was a tactic used in the Greek and Roman times quite often to exclude, to get people to change their mind and reconform again with the group. And what I think the difference is today is that it may have worked in smaller knit communities where we're all reliant on each other. And if you're the fishmonger who's all of a sudden being an arse to everybody, then we're going to exclude you, not buy, and you're going to suffer until you sort of normalize to group norms, and then we'll start buying from you again to reward that behavior, and then you're back in. Otherwise, you're going to suffer and starve. But these days, we don't have that. We don't have that boundary of smallness, because we've got the globe, and I can abuse somebody in some other country. What people aren't possibly seeing is how that can be very detrimental to their profile in the future.
Yeah.
As people dig up this stuff that we've said. And but it is also showing that shaming in that particular way, especially in an anonymous way. In other words, these people don't know who you are. Not going to work as well as somebody using that strategy to somebody who's very close to them. Not that shaming is ever a great strategy, but I'm just saying that it's a strategy that is a very, very, it's been a strategy that's been around for not thousands of years. And so I think people are using it, but they're using it inappropriately, and they're not thinking. And I agree with you, Samantha. I mean, she's not getting the message. Her family, who are grieving right now, are getting abused, really. Yeah. And it's nothing that they did, really. So,
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the ugly side of the human spirit in the world, and we've seen it it's always there, but I don't know, in the last few years, I'd say before the pandemic. And it's not a very pretty thing to look at, but it's part of being human. And I think what we've, I was just talking to Steve about it last night, and it's like, when we've put all of our attention on the ugliness, and we put all our energy towards the ugliness, we're also in that energy too. And I think we need to be what we believe is the right way to be in the world, and be an example of the right way to be in the world, and hope that other people will say, oh, I don't have to be like that. I don't have to pay attention to that. I can be part of this, the light that needs to shine in the world. And we do need the light to shine in the world. And it's not easy to sit in that space when the ugliness is going on. But I think if we can recruit people into the light, we can hopefully show a new path forward for humanity. But we can never expect that to go away. We have to accept it. It's the yin and the yang, right? The light and the dark. It's human spirit. It's who we are. We've all got it in us. And I suppose maybe that's the problem, right? Where we see ourselves in the ugliness as much as we see ourselves in the good, right?
Well, and I think, and I mean, Andrea, I know you've talked about this before in terms of, why is it so personal?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't know this woman. Why are you commenting on her page? And if it incites some ire in you, then have a conversation about the actual issue, which is, this woman is a victim of misinformation. Where's the misinformation coming from? Focus your ire and your angst on that and see if you can make headway there. But it's misplaced and far too personal when it's attacking the private page of a woman you don't even know. And I know people argue she was a political figure, and so she's fair game, and I have whole issues with all that shit as well. But
yeah, but are you going to turn up to her funeral and have a go at her there?
Of course
you're
not. No,
of course not. But that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Oh,
but please don't. Yeah. Anyway, don't do that.
It's an ugly world.
yeah, people are just raging at everything instead of the right things.
Yeah. Yeah, think about that rage. Do you want it to be in you? I mean, that's one of the things I certainly don't want. All right.